Hello everyone and welcome to my cooking channel Czech Cookbook. Today we'll be making very popular sauce and it's tomato sauce. We will pair it with cooked beef and you can do either dumplings or pasta. So today I will be doing it with dumplings, which we'll enjoy so much. So first we will need to cook our meat because later we will need the broth for our sauce. So here I have 2 pounds of roast beef, about a gallon of water, and then we will need 1 tablespoon of salt. After the meat is cooked, we will get 5 cups of broth. Then we will need 1/4 of a cup of oil, 1/3 of a cup of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, and here I have 6 ounces can of tomato paste. Here I have 1/4 of a cup of sugar, and then last thing is 3 bay leaves. So let's start making this amazing dish. I'll be showing you how to cook it in a regular pot because I know that not everybody has a pressure cooker, but if you do have a pressure cooker, it will be super fast. So for all of you that don't have a pressure cooker, I will show you how to cook it in a regular pot. To speed it up, we will cut our beef to thin slices. This way it will be much faster, and also if you cook it like this whole, it will be much harder to slice it later because the meat will fall apart. I also took off the fat, all the fat off of it. Now let's slice it. This thick slices, which is pretty thin, and now we will cut the whole thing and then we will put some water in the pot. The meat is sliced, so here it is, and I'm using a really large pot to make sure that I have enough space for the gallon of water. So let's pour it in. You will have extra leftover broth, so you can then freeze it and use it in our dishes. I like to use it in soups. Now we will add 1 tablespoon of salt. And now it's ready to put it on stove. Let's turn on the stove to high, cover it up, and let's bring it to boil. Have the lid a little bit cracked open so the steam can escape. The meat is starting to boil, so we will need to lower the temperature and have it on a gentle boil, covered up with the lid. And you have to cook it till it's tender, which takes about hour 10 minutes, hour and a half. So after 1 hour 10 minutes, I will come and check if the meat is soft. So make sure that it's always boiling the whole time. It has to boil, but it has the gentle boil. If it has too much boil, it will bubble over your pot. So make sure that it's on low enough so you just have a little gentle boil. You don't have to come and stir it because it does not need to be stirred because there's nothing that will burn. After 1.5 hours of boiling, our meat is done, and you can rip the piece. It comes off easily off the fork, and you can rip a little bit of the piece and try it and see if it's soft. Now I'll be working on our sauce. We will need to scoop up 5 cups of our broth that we just cooked. So I have here 1 cup measuring tool, and then I have a pot with a strainer because there is a little bit of pieces of the meat and all the stuff while I was cooking. So I want to strain it. So here is 1 cup. You just pour it over a strainer, and it catches little things that we don't want in our sauce. So I'll put all 5 cups into this pot. So now this has 5 cups of broth, and as you see, I strained through all that stuff from the meat away, so that's perfect. On the bottom there's still a little bit of the meat particles that got through the strainer, but that's okay. And I want to talk about this. As you see, the meat shrunk quite a bit, but that's perfect for the 5 servings. And if you have some leftover meat, I usually store it in the broth in the fridge because this way the meat just stays moist and it doesn't dry up. And after the meat is all eaten and then you are left only with the broth, I strain it so I don't have these meat pieces, and then I put it in a Tupperware and then freeze it, and it's perfect to use in your soups. So now we can make our tomato sauce. Let's cover up our meat so it stays warm when our sauce is ready, so we can have warm meat with it. Let's put 1 teaspoon of salt into our broth and set it aside. First step we have to do is make a roux. So turn on the stove and add 1/4 of a cup of oil, 1/3 of a cup of flour. And now we will brown it a little bit because you want to have a nice color. Lower the flame so you don't burn the roux. Now I will get my whisk because we will need it when we put the warm broth in. So now you're looking for a little darker color than this. Because the broth is still pretty hot, it will want to clump up the flour. So that's why I got my whisk, because as soon as I'll put in, there will be some clumps and we just need to whisk it. I will put the flame on higher so it can get darker color, bubbles nicely. And now it starts to get darker on the edges. This is good, so let's lower the flame so we don't burn our roux. Now we will add 5 cups of beef broth. Try to mix it too if you can. And it's fine to put the little bits in there. And as you see, it does clump up, so I just get the whisk and just whisk it. It's like a magic, they all disappear. And you have to be fast so they don't have a chance to cook, because we are looking for a smooth tomato sauce without any flour chunks. This is perfect. Set it aside, and now let's add the other ingredients. So here we have 6 ounces of tomato paste, try to keep stirring while you are getting all the tomato paste out. Let's add 1/4 of a cup of sugar and 3 bay leaves. I'll actually use a whisk and break up the tomato paste. Let's raise the flame on higher and bring it to boil. It won't take too long, so it's pretty fast to make this tomato sauce. It starts to boil now, as you see the bubbles. So let's lower the flame and let's boil it about 1 or 2 minutes, just so the sauce can thicken up and the bay leaves can just release the flavor into the sauce. And I forgot to mention that you should keep stirring the whole time so the sauce does not burn to the pot. After about 2 minutes of boiling, our sauce is done, and that's it. It was super fast, and now we can just warm up some dumplings and we can enjoy this amazing tomato sauce.